Hey everybody, how you doing? Oakland is about to change in a very big way, and that news is both good and bad. The news organization that broke the story is the San Francisco Business Times here, exclusive. The battery is expanding to Oakland with Lake Merritt location. And of course, this is behind a paywall, but that's okay because I believe I know enough about this to help you out without going past the paywall into this piece written by Laura Waxman, staff reporter, in who she reports that the current occupant of the site, the historic Bellevue Club, which I believe has been there for 104 years, will shutter for good in June when the deal closes because the Bellevue Club has been, like so many other organizations, hit by the pandemic. But what they say is what's one person's bad news is another person's good news. The question is, okay, so you're saying what's the battery all about? And why is it bad for Oakland and why is it good for Oakland? It's not so much that it's bad or good for Oakland, but it is good news and bad news from another perspective. First of all, I've been to the battery many times. I'm not a member. I know people who, if I wanted to be a member, they would have been happy to, introduce me. But nonetheless, the battery was started in 2013 by Michael and Zashi Birch. You can see them. This is from their website. They're on the extreme left. Frank Kowicki, the general manager, is in center, and Rachel Horak, the business manager, is on the right. Michael is known. I personally know who he is because the Birches were the founders of Bebo, a site that I was a frequent user of, which they sold to America Online for, I thought it was like $1.5 billion or $1.05 billion. But it turned out to be a little less than that. I still continue to be shocked that Michael Birch actually sold it for that much, or for 850 million, as it actually is reported, because these are the early days of the web. This is like Web 1.0 going to Web 2.0, and Bebo is kind of like Wayfair would be to their news site, but it had something like 30 million visitors a month, and that was enough to really drive the sale to AOL. They sold it to AOL in March of 2008 for $850 million, as it turned out. They had a 70% stake in the company, which yielded for the Birches a profit of $595 million, which they then took $90 million of and established the battery in San Francisco on 77 Battery, hence the name of the facility. It's a place you can stay in. It has hotel rooms, if you will. It is a club. It's a club that caters to a tech crowd, not so much by this thing where you have to be in tech or anything like that, but the combination of people like the Birches themselves who are involved in tech, friends, and people that I know who are also in tech, as it happens. And I'm not going to drop any names because it's not fair to them. To those people who brought me in there for many times for businesses or to meet other would-be attorneys for startups I was working on and that sort of thing. That's not fair. So, but the fact of the matter is that they spent 90 million to do this. Now, why is it good for Oakland and why is it bad? It's good for Oakland in that it's a fun place to be at and go to, and hang out at, if you're a member. And how you become a member is you have to know somebody that's a member there, and then you have to go through an application process and an interview and then wait. I think the wait, it used to take up to a year at one point. I don't know how long it takes now, but they probably have had a lot of people drop because of the pandemic. 2 years ago, Originally, the membership was 2,000 a year. Then it went up to 3,000. Now, what you get for that is the right to enter. You don't get discounts on food. You still have to pay for the food. You don't really get any discounts on anything. And so we're getting to the other side of it. It's kind of like, what are you really getting? You're getting the right to say that you're a part of this club. Um, but that kind of psychological advantage, if you want to call it that, leads to interesting experiences. I remember I went to the Battery to the Penthouse with a couple of friends, and this woman grabbed me and kissed me and would not let go. Out of the blue. That happens. You get to some, shall we say, interesting encounters at the Battery in San Francisco, which I dare say could be replicated in Oakland. Don't know. You're right there, as you can see by the fact that I used Lake Merritt, right? They're right there at the lake, Bellevue on the water. Will be in June, after June, and it get out there, and all kinds of interesting things can happen in that neighborhood. It's a nice plus, a nice upgrade. Now, this gets to the bad side. This gets to the bad part, and it's exhibited by, well, look, it's considered elitist. Some would say racist. I wouldn't say racist. I never had a bad experience there. I never had an experience of the Battery I would even call remotely that at all. But I do know of some members who are African American who were not comfortable. Okay, and so they dropped their membership for reasons. Well, I mean, look, for example, the food. They say, hey, look, if they spend money for the food, they don't think the food is the greatest. All right. Me, I will say this. I have never had anything less than a great time at the Battery in San Francisco, period. End of story there. Okay. And its addition to the Oakland neighborhood says that San Francisco is moving to Oakland. It is the cultural result of between maybe 10 or 10,000 people as a guess or hypothesis moving from San Francisco to Oakland for reasons related to the pandemic, and fusing together something that really hasn't happened much before. It's sort of Oakland coming full circle. For early on, like when I started working for the mayor's office for Elihu Harris, going over to San Francisco was common because there wasn't as much to do. We always tried to get more things to do in Oakland. And then, of course, Elihu Harris worked with David Alexander to start Uptown Oakland. And then my friend Phil Tagami played a big role in helping to develop Uptown Oakland, and as did others. And as you know, Uptown is now the place for a number of great eateries and establishments, and like Luca's, for example, owned by Rich and his wife, and if you have a chance to go to Luca's and give them your money, please go and give them your money. They really need the help of people, to help lead the business, and they're coming back, and they're great members of the community. Just wonderful people to know, and I'm proud to call them friends. And I've had events there, and and everything. Okay, so really just give them your money. But Rick and Maria Aldretti are just fantastic people. So they help make up what Uptown is today. So their facility is almost, it's like the Battery without the cost or the expense or the elitism. All right. And now we get the Battery. And so now we have a folding of San Francisco culture, or we're starting to be a folding of San Francisco culture in Oakland, with buildings and high rises um, and a certain elite culture, an elite white culture that has some people a little concerned, you know. But that's why I say it's both good and it's bad. Again, I emphasize I have never had a bad time at the Battery. Um, and so I welcome the Battery to Oakland. I welcome it to Adams Point and Lake Merritt. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the neighborhood, and I hope that they do a great job of reaching out beyond what are perceived to be their boundaries and their limitations. I say what are perceived to be because I've never had the pleasure of meeting the Birches in person, although there's a lot of 2 degrees of separation between us. And I can't wait to see what they come up with at the Bellevue Club. I want to see if they mold themselves to Oakland rather than trying to mold Oakland. That's the question that I have: is are they going to try to really, be a part of Oakland and Oakland's culture and how we roll, as opposed to bringing how they roll over to San Francisco. But yeah, I'm only 4 blocks down, so yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. But am I going to spend $3,000 that I don't have to be a member? No. Okay. Now here's some of the things that they've got. They got trivia night, live music, Gold Diggers, Reflections of the American Dream, live piano with Javier Santiago, Battery Travel, Event Hidden. There's Hella Funny Live in the Garden, Public Education, Rooftop Power, Flow Yoga, Public Education Allocation, and Seekers of the Battery Mingle and Mediate in person and virtual event. They've got all these different events going on. No One Succeeds Alone, could say that again, with Robert Refkin and Compass founder, CEO. It's a virtual event. I would like to have attended that. So you get the idea, all right? It's a net positive. They bought the building. Great for Oakland's economy. Definitely. They have dining. This is the Garden in San Francisco, and that's the penthouse upstairs there. I would love to see what they do with that space. This is my favorite part, the house bar area. It's nice. It's airy. It's a great place to sit and contemplate. Great place to meet. The living room is nice and cozy. And there's the Musto Bar, in which which actually the little kissy thing I was telling you about that happened at the Musto Bar. It wasn't a little kissy thing either. So there you are. Okay. The Battery SF comes to Oakland, Lake Merritt, and it represents, shall we say, the gold diggers coming to Lake Merritt. I'm joking, but it is a big change. It will be a big change for the neighborhood, and it's going to be a story unto itself to see how it fits in. So I say to Michael and to Zashi, welcome to Oakland, welcome to Lake Merritt, welcome to Adams Point, and can't wait to see what you do. All right, that's the news. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. That ends this broadcast.